Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a few weeks since we last streamed. I was on vacation, and also we're just really busy here, partially just because, we've in previous streams talked about our mystery game that we're working on. We can at least finally be slightly less vague. We are making a new Saints Row, and that's all we can say about that. But on top of that, it's also the 13th anniversary of the original Saints Row, so I figured I would change the background for our green screen to the box art of the original game. But yeah, it's 13 years. That's
crazy to think it's been that long.
Yeah. But on top of all that too, figured, coming back after not doing streams for a couple of weeks, that's been announced. 13 years, I figured, hey, why don't we get, the directors who are working on the new Saints Row to talk a little bit. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Right. Hi, I'm Brian Traficante, Creative Director.
I'm James Hague, Design Director.
Frank Marquart, Art Director.
And Jim Boone, Executive Producer.
All the way in the back.
Yes, you will not be able to hear me.
That's actually really good,
loud.
because that's what Jim does. He just watches.
That's exactly
he just
correct.
hovers.
Yes, I just hover amongst the directors and
Captain Linger. And just...
That's exactly it. I don't have to do anything else.
And over in the control room, you got Mike.
Hey everybody, Mike Watson here, Senior Community Developer for Volition. Today's a pretty special day. It's the 13th anniversary of the release of the original Saints Row. 13 and 31 also have a very strange significance in the mythology of Saints Row. There are many references to it in the game, such as the code to activate Sid is 1331. The code for Tanya's elevator in Saints Row 1 is 1313. There's Assault on Precinct 31 mission. There's Murder Brawl 31, etc., etc., etc. Johnny Gat was in jail for 2 years and 31 days. So, hey, it's pretty neat. We have a link in Twitch in the description if you want to click it. It's all the Easter eggs and all the references to 3113, but it feels kind of special for today. That's about it. I'm going to turn you back over to the directors.
All right, thanks, Mike. But yeah, I guess, we said we've announced new Saints Row. We can't say much, but vaguely, how do you all feel about this? Just finally being able to at least announce somewhat there's a new Saints Row.
Yeah, very excited. Very, very, very happy.
Yeah, it feels good for people to know that it is Saints Row.
Yeah.
Because we've been working on it for a while, and it just feels good for people to finally know that that's what we're working on. Even if that still doesn't really tell you a whole lot, but...
Right. But I mean, it's just I've seen some of it. I'm sure all of you have seen a bunch of it too. Just the... it's been a little while since the last Saints Row came out, and so just how do you feel about the response from the fans from it being announced?
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic. Just that people are excited to hear that we're making something.
Trap's got signs I made him.
That's right.
I'm glad your voice is back, but originally he couldn't talk at all, so I was making signs for him to hold up during the stream.
You just hold that one sign up the whole time.
Yep, just that one.
Yeah, but it is awesome to see the reaction from the fans of the community. It feels good.
Yeah.
Because we're all excited, obviously, to be working on a Saints Row, and it's been fun to see people kind of guess what might Volition be working on all this time, and then to see that everyone reacts so positively once they found out that it's Saints Row feels pretty gratifying to know that we've been on the right track.
Yeah, we've since we started doing these streams, a lot of them, whoever we've had on, at the very end, asking them, what do you do outside work and all this stuff, we always ask them, how do you feel just about the project? We make video games, but even for that, I would just call it the project and not, how do you feel about the new game?
Yeah.
But, it's satisfying to at least say Saints Row again, and not just the project.
Very.
Well, it's been a while. I figured maybe people forgot about us, but the response was huge, just out of nowhere. Really big response. Really exciting to read all of that.
Yeah, because I hadn't checked the response just to I think it was one of the tweets that just our Volition account made, not even the Saints Row account, which has way more followers, and even that had something like 5,000 likes on the tweet or something, which is last I checked, it was the day after where it was at 1,000. It's just crazy to see it still ticking up. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's, on top of that, I mentioned 13th anniversary, original Saints Row. It's just crazy to see that the franchise has been around for more than a decade at this point. but also just like, talking about Saints Row 1, I know a few of you have touched Saints Row 1 at some point when it was being made. Do any of you have any stories about that game?
Who wants to kick it? Frank, why don't you kick it?
Sure. I worked on Saints Row 1. I was an environment artist on Saints Row 1, and I was a city team leader. And mainly in Stillwater, if you know the area, so like the Northern Island is mainly where me and a bunch of the other artists on my team, we worked for that. And I remember texturing miles and miles of curb at the time. That's the one memory that I just remember, texturing miles and miles of curb by hand.
That was rewarding, I'm sure.
It was very rewarding.
So I did not work on Saints Row 1, but I was the design director for Red Faction Guerrilla, which was happening at the same time. And the projects were actually shared at the beginning. So thanks to some fat fingering from me, pedestrians from Stillwater were loose on Mars, and some characters from Mars were loose in Stillwater. And it was... The thing is, people didn't necessarily blink at it like it was a problem. It took a while to realize that it wasn't supposed to be like that.
I'm really curious. Is there any video of that lying around anywhere?
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Because if there's some video of that, I would love to show that on stream at some point. But yeah, we got any other stories? Jim, did you?
Mine is a silly story, but it was...
Are you at THQ?
So I had been working with Volition in some way, shape, or form at both Interplay and at THQ when I was the external publisher, the producer. And so it had been a few years since I'd worked with Volition by that point. And I came out to interview. It was kind of like I suppose, a de facto interview. But I came out to interview, and it was at the release party for Saints Row 1. So it was awesome because Mike Koulos, our GM, he didn't tell anyone that I was coming out to interview. So I show up for the launch party, our big internal Volition launch party. Everyone's at it, whole company's at it, and I just show up. And I would just kind of stand there and look at various people that I knew, and I knew pretty much everyone. And the first reaction virtually from everyone was, "Oh, hey, Jim, how's it going, man? It's been a while." Wait, Jim, what the hell are you doing here? And it's like, I'm coming to Volition. And it's like, oh my God. So it was fun to show up on literally, I guess, the last day of Saints Row 1 at the launch party, where I didn't do a single thing in the project, but got to drink lots of alcohol and party with everyone else who was celebrating from having bled for the game. So what a perfect time to show up.
Yeah, I mean, wish I could have shown up right at the end of something just to do that and just like, I'm technically in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, aside from Saints Row 1, what are the other Saints Row games all of you have worked on in the past?
I joined the studio, it's been over 10 years, Saints Row 2. And I did a little bit of contribution and collaboration in 3. I was off on some of the other projects.
Okay.
But really dug in on SR2.
All right.
I was on the Red Faction side of things for much of Saints Row, but I worked on 4.
Okay. And Frank?
I worked on 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, wow. Okay. All of them.
Yes. So I was a city team leader, environment artist on 1. I was the art director on 2 and 3, and I was an associate art director on 4.
Okay. What's it been like being through like basically the whole franchise the entire time? Like, is it weird to like work on one franchise for that long?
It's changed. You know, every game was different. You know, so it always felt fresh and new, and like, what exciting thing can we come up with next?
All right.
You know? So it's still fresh and exciting to work on.
And Jim, which ones did you work on?
I guess I decided to only work on the even ones. So I worked on Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 4. I was the multiplayer producer in Saints Row 2, and then I was the project lead for Saints Row 4, and then also Gap.
Okay, cool. You got any stories from those games that you'd like to bring in?
I could spend the rest of this thing talking about all the stories, I'm sure, from those games. But I guess the ones that immediately jumped to mind, at least on Saints Row 2, is when we were trying to do something a little more grand for multiplayer, where we wanted to do, we kind of wanted to try to take the experience of playing the single-player game or co-op game and bring it into a multiplayer mode. So I remember the first time talking to the programmers of like, so here's what we want to do. We want to be able to play the game, or at least like a big chunk of the world, and we were able to play it with at least 8 people, maybe 16 people, and I remember to this day the look of absolute horror on their faces as I'm talking about this, and eventually they did it. God bless them. They actually helped make it happen, but it was that was a very, very lively conversation to start off.
Oh, geez.
Mildly ambitious.
That's a pretty
It was-
normal.
Yeah, very much so. That honestly,
We approach tech.
It does. It happens a lot with our programmers are so
ambitions, and then they
talented.
give you that look.
Yep. Yeah, the look of terror, the look of
they come
realization
back.
that we're probably going to do this thing. It's going to really, really be hard, but we are capable of doing it. So just you kind of watch the look on their face as they go through all of that. Exactly. Yeah.
It's just like a whole wave of different emotions.
That's exactly
like
right. You see
multiple
them
stages.
all. Right. That's exactly correct. Yes.
Man.
Correct.
We have phenomenal
We really do.
engineers and,
Yep.
and technical developers here.
It's amazing.
Of the studios I've been at, Volition has always struck me as the most talented in terms of our ingenuity and our ability to craft, to take those insane requests and turn it into something that actually not only is just achievable, but actually we ship with. It makes it in there.
Sometimes
These guys
even more
are-
than you
they're-
hope
they're-
for. Sometimes
they're
there's
phenomenal.
things you don't even think to ask about it because it just seems like you're already asking for the world.
Yeah.
So you don't
How do I-
ask
how do I
for
do this?
the galaxy, but then they are the ones to come back and tell you, like, well, we probably could do this. And
Yeah.
like, sure, that would be great if we could have that. So yeah, that's awesome. They are super talented.
Yeah, and for anybody tuning in that hasn't seen too many of our streams before, we go like even more in depth with these types of topics, like in a lot of our other streams. Like Trav, we had you on only like a month or two ago talking about your work on SR2.
Yeah, it was like 2.
Yeah, and that's proven to be one of our more popular streams on YouTube, by the way. Lots of people watching that one.
Nice. Seeing how the master did his craft back then.
Yeah.
I did. I brought some old stuff, some SR2 stuff. I showed my Fight Club arena.
Yeah.
Showed off some of the old environments that I built back then.
Yeah, that was some really cool stuff to see.
Did you bring your curbs, Frank?
Right, got miles of curve.
Look at the SR1 curves.
Just real quick, I am really curious, talking about laying all the curves and stuff, is the process for that easier these days compared to back then? Or is that still a big
Light years difference.
Light years difference?
Light years
Okay.
difference.
Yeah.
right.
Back then it was all hand built,
Yeah.
hand unwrapped, hand textured, hand corrected, integrated. We have tools for all of that now.
Okay. Yeah,
Tools for all of that.
I
Because on
have
SR2, I think our biggest volume of bugs were broken textures on curbs. We were in the
man.
thousands.
Oh my
Because at
god.
the end of the project, we were in the down cycle, getting things done, and you go into a big polish and bug fixing phase. And it was my first console project. I've been on PC development for years at other studios. And I'm like, let's do this, right? I'm here, and this is Volition. What a wonderful studio, wonderful game. And every week, Friday, we'd have a team meeting, and we'd look at where we're at, and the bug numbers just kept going up.
oh
And
man.
we couldn't get them fixed and closed quick enough to where, like, first it was like this kind of an angle, then it was this, and then it was this, and the
Yeah.
numbers were, I mean,
I think Saints Row 2 was the
20,000?
record. It was 20. Yeah, I think it was the
20,000
record
bugs?
for number of bugs of any game we have ever done in our history by a fair margin. as I
because
recall.
the scale of everything was so
Yes.
much larger.
Yeah.
We pushed everywhere we
Yeah.
could.
Well, like the
and
city,
we went
like-
as fast as we could. Yeah.
Like thinking of the city, even though it was still Stillwater, it was a redone Stillwater. They're not just the
absolutely. Yep.
parts that were added to it, but we redid it because of the streaming system.
Right.
And so it
completely
was
different.
So on the one hand, you might look at that and think, like, it was still Stillwater. That shouldn't have been that hard for the city, but you guys practically recreated
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, and we went to a brick pattern for our streaming grid. Basically, it was look like bricks, and that's how the streaming worked. Depending on where you were, it would load the ones around you, and each part of the world was broken up in a Max. We used 3D Studio Max as the world builder. And think about all those meshes and all those pieces. They had to be hand attached.
Oh.
So some streaming chunks of like street were triangles because it was this perfect spot where 4 chunks were coming together. But you only owned one piece of the triangle. So you're coordinating with 3 people to get your UV squared because you got to have your helper in the same spot on your triangle. And so things like that made the efficiencies really, really tough because it was just back then that's how we were pushing on all that stuff.
I remember hearing in Saints Row 1 how it would be if you drove down this road at top speed, you could outrun streaming. So the solution was block the road, so you have to make a horrible turn.
Yes.
Which was not the best solution for driving, but it did fix the streaming.
Okay.
Mostly.
Isn't that why there were so many of the bugs after launch where the person, like your character would be driving along and the car disappears, while your character's just kind of sitting there in the seated position?
I know what that was. It was because
Was this something different?
well, it was streaming,
Okay.
but it's because like the programmers worked out the streaming system, so they were like maxing the throughput. They had maxed everything, and then it turned out that there were multiple different Xboxes, 360s with different DVD speeds.
That's right.
Oh, jeez.
And they didn't know that. So on the one that they were planning for, it was fine, but the one on the other was a little bit slower. Oops.
And not
Whoops.
fine. Oh, man.
Oh my God.
I remember fixing some of the streaming ones. Like, I still feel bad about the solution our team put in because we were like usually you could put walls or something, and we had the residential district, and it's just these houses. So we just put a brick wall in one area, and there's like a basketball court. It's like, let's try to make it make sense. It didn't make any sense. It still doesn't make sense. And I apologize to all of the Saints Row 2 fans out there who have encountered this brick wall in the middle of nowhere.
I talked on the stream a couple months ago that I saved my worst bug for last, and it was stand here, look this direction, and the city unloads. And it was at the corner of multiple streaming chunks. And if you look this way, or this way, the whole city disappeared.
Oh my God.
And I got that bug early, and I was so scared of what that would mean. So I pushed it off. Luckily, so many other people did other things that by the time I got there's some special large billboards in special spots so that when you look at a billboard and the city is actually gone behind it. Because all you do is take that step in the next chunk and it worked.
Yeah.
It's right on a streaming corner. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
Memories.
a tough spot.
Yes.
Yeah, we have tools for that. We have automation. We have wonderful things for that.
Oh yeah, so light years difference.
Oh,
Light
that's
years
good.
difference.
I mean, I figured,
Super
but it's.
friendly and helpful. Yeah.
I mean, I know
And that's those
that.
techs I talked about. Those engineers and techs are so brilliant. They work so hard at making quality of life and comfort of life for developers.
Yeah.
is really cool. And that's the Volition. We have such a family type culture that these guys go out of their way to work individually with developers here and try to get them either familiarized with the way we do things or a lot of times custom tools and techniques to help us get our jobs done. It's really cool.
Right. So, we have a new Saints Row again. You introduce yourselves at the start, but could we go through all of you one more time, just saying like what is it that you do for the new game?
Sure. So I'm the art director, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And in charge of essentially the look of the game, why things look the way they look. Essentially, I like to think of it as like I'm in charge of all the colors of the pixels.
Okay.
So like making sure that all the colors of the pixels work together at the same time. Right. That needs to be more blue.
Right. So you're more the person meeting with everyone else, creating the assets to make sure they line up with what is believed they should look like for the game, essentially. Right.
Yeah. So starting with concept, characters and vehicles and environments and things like that, down to all of the different disciplines. Working with all of them and trying to come up with a cohesive whole.
Okay. How about you, James?
So I help develop the dream of a mission, the dream of a feature, and then work with the design team and work with the other disciplines to make it actually happen.
Okay.
So you have to. What is it that we're trying to hit with this feature? What's the feeling we want? How do we want the player to mess around with this? What kind of options does the player have? And make sure we follow through on that. We don't just build one-off things that don't really accentuate the rest of the game.
Right.
And there's modern games are huge. There's no shortage of dreams to be worked on.
Yeah, how is it? What is that like near the start of working on a new game? Because there's always so many ideas and stuff. Like, what is the best?
Yeah, that part is great because your mind has no limitations. You can do whatever you want.
It's the honeymoon phase.
You can go completely crazy, and then after a while, then there's the dream crushing moment when you actually, because you find out that everybody's dreams don't necessarily line up. So it gets the they'll feel worse than others, and eventually it lines up. But yeah, then you start to realize, okay, what we focus down to is amazing, and we just have to make this. We have to get this through to completion so everyone can see how amazing it is.
Right. I'll come back to Frank too to ask this, but I also meant to ask, just like on a day-by-day basis, what is that like? Like, is it just lots of meetings? do you have to? Yeah. I mean, you're all directors. I assume it would be lots of meetings, but.
It's fair to say.
I haven't seen like what any of these meetings are like. Is it like personally like playing the game a lot, like watching lots of footage of the game to determine like, if this stuff is going the way you like, or?
I think it's both, but it's also, there's a lot of discussion because Volition isn't it's not a dictatorship. Just because you have director in your title doesn't mean you go in there and tell people exactly how everything is going to be. There's discussion to try to, and so I'm moderating and trying to get the balance of what will work best, what people think they can actually do, what will fit the schedule, and then make decisions in the end when it's needed. But there's a lot of back and forth, which I think is really great because good ideas on the games I've worked on have come from everywhere. I could point at just about anybody on a project, and they have made some contribution of some, besides just their normal work, but they came up with some idea for a mission or a weapon or a thing that we should do or something, which I love that.
Cool. Frank, what's your just like day-to-day thing like? Is it a similar thing to his, or?
Yeah, definitely. Attending a lot of meetings, like he was saying, a lot of collaboration between disciplines and then within the discipline as well. So different things come up on different days, or actually we have a weekly schedule of like, see this group on this day, and this group on this day, and this group on this day, and answer any questions. And then it's helping to create art direction overall. For, hey, we have this thing, can you provide some art direction for it? What should this look like? And so assembling the reference, these are the patterns that we're trying to follow. That's a lot of what art direction is. It's like recognizing and then doubling down on those patterns, so that once you see that pattern and you're trying to communicate to the artists who can also see that same pattern, and then everybody moves in the same direction. Did that sound a little too abstract? And then we have amazing artists, and like they're like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, yeah, okay, we can use that, but like tweak it this because it fits with this thing over here. Boy, that's really abstract again. But like once you understand the patterns, then you can start like shuffling things toward them, and that's essentially it. All right,
cool. Traff, what about you?
Yeah, so my day-to-day is Frank coming in and going, I want to do this. And I go, you serious? Like, really? So as a creative director, there's a third director not with us today, our narrative director. And so art, design, and narrative make up our creative triangle. And so my role is to, I think James had said it right, which is everybody has these dreams and goals. And so my job working with these three exclusively, and Jim as well, is to support them and listen to what their goals are, and also make sure that all that's funneling into the top level goal for the project, making sure that everything comes together cohesively and it's going to achieve all the things that we want.
Okay.
Not my dream, the dream. And how all the other dreams collaborate into those dreams.
Right, the collective
And James
dream.
said it right, like we're not a dictatorship, and we talked about that on my stream too. Like we're exceptionally collaborative, and we know and believe that the result of many people working together on something is going to be better than one person saying it should be this or that. Up until it's detrimental, and then Jim can step in and tell us it's detrimental. But but that's the way that we work. So from my day to day is a lot of what these guys do in support with them and being available as well, or being there when they're not, because there are a lot of things happening. So think of all three groups every day trying to do their things and accomplish their goals. And so what I'm doing there is making sure that everyone is sharing the same information and that they're collaborating in the ways that are going to get us to where we want to get to, and looking for when things might skew a different direction that might be either good or harmful, right? Both of those things can be helpful. So just watching for those things. And so it's a lot of different parts and pieces. These guys are rarely ever anywhere at one time. They're all over the place. And so we do have sync ups. We have meetings where we get together and just discuss what's happening in each group or the whole group. The directors get together and talk.
Right. And yeah, you mentioned our narrative director could not be here today. That is Jacques. He has been on a stream a few months ago, actually, which he did get to talk a little bit about, what he does and all that. That's on our YouTube channel, by the way. It's youtube.com/VolitionTube. So if you want to see Jacques talk about that, and also how he was did rally car stuff in the 80s or something like that.
I started a rumor that he was a submarine captain in the French Navy.
That's amazing.
I feel like after
That's a rumor? That's not real?
I mean, after some of the stories I heard from him on stream, I would buy it.
Yeah. It was very easy.
Yeah.
He's really good in tight spaces. He's really comfortable underwater for many months. He's really good that way. Ask him all about it.
I have to get back on the stream for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Anyways, Jim, how about you?
I thought you were going to skip me. Mine's both the easiest and most complicated one of all to explain.
All right.
I do all kinds of things, which means on any given day, I might be trying to help remove roadblocks or try to give direction to something or look at risks. It's really a little bit of everything in production, which is what I love about production, because it's not just the same thing every day.
Right.
And it makes it enjoyable, but at the same time, it makes it incredibly challenging to say, what do you do for a living? I do production, and if you do production, you kind of know. I'm certain there are people on this team who have really fundamentally no idea what it is I do. Half the time, I leave at the end of the day and think, I don't really know what I did today. I know I was busy from the second I got here to the second I left. I have been busy. I have been in meetings. I'm not really sure what I did, but I was here.
All right.
But all kidding aside, fundamentally, I'm ultimately responsible for the project, responsible for the budget, the timely completion, and then try to look out for any impediments for the team and try to remove those. Principally work with these fellows in the director level. Try my best to stay out of the way, but boy, it's impossible for me because I always have lots of ideas that, much to their chagrin, they learn. And just try to help out in any way I can and try to just keep forward momentum for the project.
All right, cool. I guess before we wrap up the stream, again, I know this is we were talking about how to do the stream right before it started, and it's just one, we're all excited, but two, it's so excited. It's hard to say why we can't say why we're excited really, aside from it's a new Saints Row. But vaguely, if any of you want, how do you feel about where we're at right now with the game and just everything in general?
It's hot.
It's hot?
There you go.
It's hot.
It's exciting.
You didn't go all the way with that one, Frank. I'm a little disappointed.
This is the best project I've
Trying to keep this family friendly.
Yeah, okay, you kept it family friendly. That's fair enough.
I'm more excited than I've been on any other project that I worked on, and that's not just because we're sitting here. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I get
excited.
I want to say.
There's points on every project when I see, okay, this is good. I am really, really excited about this, and I'm seeing that just here and there. I'm seeing those things that get me really excited.
Whole team is fired up. I mean, I think it's clicking for everyone, which is exciting to see, especially at this phase of the project where sometimes when you're in midway through, it can start to grind a little bit because you've just got a lot of work still to do and things are coming together and seeing people excited about the stuff that we're working on. That's always such a good sign at this point in the project. for
Yeah.
people, for the team to be excited. Not that the team like hates a project you're on in the middle of it or something like that, but to see the level of excitement that they have for this one it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, it's like when I came back, started working here again. It was just like I came here, like the atmosphere, like from
Yeah.
day one, like I could feel
Yeah.
like people just like really being into the game, and like we've brought up in streams before, but like we do this thing called Awesome Week. The Awesome Week that we did
Oh my God.
earlier this year had some really good
Amazing.
shit in it,
Amazing.
and like just knowing that
So you
so
can say
much
shit,
of it.
Frank.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say the rules. It
Yeah.
said we can swear.
When Frank said it was hot, that is only half of what he normally
Yeah.
says. just
Okay.
so everyone knows. It's,
All
It
right.
has a label.
yeah, it is a label. Yeah, when Frank busts out the hot shit, you know that, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It attained that level. Yes.
All right, I'll say it now. It was hot shit.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Hot shit.
That's much better. But yeah, you're totally right, Josh. Like, one of the things that I always think of is just seeing the way that like Awesome Week was great, right?
Yeah.
But just the way that everyone is broadly reacting internally to it is exciting, like you said. But it's also just, man, we're at that point where it is awesome for people to know that we're on Saints Row. And I think that was what has excited the team as well, because it almost feels like we were able to come back home. Yeah, and not
Right.
that we aren't very proud of AOM, Agents of Mayhem, and everything that was done on that project. But being able to come back to Saints Row, I think, is pretty exciting for a lot of people here. So I think that resonates with a lot of what we're doing right now. So it's
Totally.
it's got the team pretty fired up, I would
Yeah.
say.
But yeah, it's wish we could say more. It sucks,
I
but
know.
we
I know.
just gotta wait.
Hey, at least we're able to say Saints Row. We weren't even
Yeah,
able to say that, which, as you can
Yeah.
all imagine, we had a burning desire every day, like, if only we could at least even say that. So
Yeah,
now we can say
that's-
that's something.
There were like lots of streams where like immediately after we would like signed off, it was just like, man, I wish we could at least say that.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
So at least that's out of the way. But yeah, it's just super cool to finally be at least at this point. And later on it'll be really cool. We can finally share more stuff when that day comes. But yeah, everybody for who's been watching our streams for a while, like, thank you for watching and bearing with us. We can at least say this now.
But very little else.
yeah.
By little, I mean nothing. But
Yeah, and it's also nice too. This is the first time like two of you, Traff and Boone, you've been on streams in the past couple months since we restarted the streams. But it's really nice to have at least almost all the directors for the new Saints Row on the couch at one time. Just because part of the streams, why we do them is just like we want to give a face to who's making the game, because so often it's just like game development is a complete mystery. It's very secretive. So like anything we can do to be a little more transparent, let people see like these are the people who make the game, make decisions, make cool shit, and have them on to actually talk about the creative process and all that. I'm glad when all of you can like come on. But
totally.
Happy to do it for you.
Yeah, it's fun to do these.
yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching the stream. We are starting up our streams again weekly, every Thursday, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. If this is your first time, we have tons of several years worth of streams on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/VolitionTube. If you want some more really cool Saints Row shit, in years past we've done Break the Build streams where we got in development older builds of Saints Row games and just poked everything to see how many cars we could spawn with console commands and all that. I forget the exact limit, but on Saints Row 3 on PC, when you have a ton of RAM, it's a lot of cars before it crashes.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's the Break the Builds are some of my favorite things to do here, and hopefully we can get around to doing some more of those in the future.
I'm gonna go back to my desk and try this.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Try this.
But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Again, I'm Josh Stinson, the video editor, and today on the couch we had
Brian Traficante.
James Hague.
Frank Marquart.
Jim Boone.
and thanks everybody. We'll see you next week. Later.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.